Hey guys, thanks for joining us for this 126th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include author Stephen Kurczy, has a new book, Quiet Zone. We'll also visit with former NFL and college football quarterback Jesse Palmer, got a new series, The Ultimate Surfer. A 2-night series premiere begins tonight on ABC. We'll also visit with actor and author Rob Sedgwick, his new book, Bob Goes to Jail. And we'll visit with country singer-songwriter Dusty Leigh about her new single, Love You Like You're Leaving. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and share with your friends. Now, a lot of bars and restaurants are making people show their vaccine cards to get in now. Now, there are also digital versions of your phone that have a QR code they can scan, or I guess this option might be slightly more convenient. A 22-year-old in Italy is going viral after he got a QR code tattooed on his upper arm that links to his vaccine status. He tested it out at a McDonald's that requires proof, and it worked. Now, he says he also did it because he just wanted a tattoo that was unique. His parents aren't thrilled, though, and told him to stop being so impulsive. Got an interesting book to talk about, Is It Even Possible? We're going to talk about The Quiet Zone with author Stephen Kurczy. And first off, Stephen, I appreciate you taking some time to be on the show.
Cameron, it's great to be here. Thanks for making the time.
Now tell our listeners what The Quiet Zone, and if you even see the possibility of such a place existing. Where did this come from for you?
So I don't own a cell phone. Back in 2009, I threw away my first and last cell phone. Initially, I just wanted to save some money, and eventually that evolved into an obstinate refusal to get a device that everybody was telling me I had to have. You know, there's an intense cultural pressure to get an iPhone or to get an Android and to be always connected, really, for the sake of others. And if you don't have one, you're kind of seen as like a bit of an outcast or a hermit in modern society. And at some point, you know, with 97% of all Americans owning cell phones and most of them being smartphones, I started to ask, where do I belong? Like, where do I fit in? Is there anywhere left in this world where I can just be normal again, where there are other people who might share my aversion to being always connected? And I did a simple search online for places in the United States without cell service, and up popped Green Bank, West Virginia, supposedly the quietest town in America because of it being home to this radio astronomy observatory, which is surrounded by a quiet zone that allows it to do its astronomical work.
And for you, how were you able to craft that into the book, The Quiet Zone, and what's it like to get the feedback of the finished work as well?
Yeah, so I first went into that town expecting to find people who share my philosophical aversion, right, to being constantly connected. And I ended up being fascinated by the place just on my very first visit there, and deciding to go back over and over again. I spent about 4 months living in Green Bank over the next 3 years. That initial, intrigue of there being a place in the world that was a little bit more disconnected, that was kind of like going back in time, evolved into this more complicated, nuanced portrait of a place where it's really struggling to remain quiet, where many people do want to have smartphones and cell phones. They want to bring in cell service. Can it remain a quiet zone, both because of that cultural pressure and because of lack of financing for the astronomy observatory from the National Science Foundation and from the government, which is, has lots of other things it has to spend money on. That pressure for whether or not it can survive is mixed with, can this place remain a quiet zone for the sake of all these other groups that have come into the quiet looking for a place where they can get away from it all? I found in my research that the quiet has had like a magnetizing, attractive force over the past half century, bringing in government spies, back to the landers and hippies, neo-Nazis, strange nefarious actors, unsolved murderers and serial killers, and most recently, this group of electrosensitives, people who believe that they are made physically ill to the point of even death from cell service, from Wi-Fi, and they believe that going into the quiet zone is their last refuge in the world. So will the quiet endure, not just for the sake of radio astronomy, but for the sake of all these people who are fleeing into the quiet to get away from it all?
Stephen, for you, of those different groups of folks that you talk to, is there any of those that you really find yourself having a kinship with more than the others?
Yeah, I would say the hippies and back to the landers. I really like their way of looking at the world. They want to kind of like break free from their devices. They want to live a more simple life. They want to, grow their own food and know where it's coming from, and handle their own tools and build their own house. And they want to like understand the world in a sense that I think a lot of us are losing a grip with. Like, I couldn't tell you how my car works. I'd be hard pressed to like change a tire. Like like there's a sense of like, I want to know how we live in the world again in a Thoreau kind of on Walden Pond sense. And those hippies and back to the landers really embody that for me.
And as you were going through the process of study and all of that of the book, were there any moments that you were like, maybe we should move on to something else? Or was it always something that you had that's a driving force behind?
There were many moments when Jenna, who was my then girlfriend, now she's my wife, and we have a couple of children. There were several moments where she was like, I don't think you should be going down this rabbit hole. Particularly that was with regards to this fairly notorious, infamous group of neo-Nazis known as the National Alliance, who has been based there since 1985. Its leader and longtime leader and founder was a man named William Pierce, one of the most dangerous and influential neo-Nazi leaders in American history. He wrote a book called The Turner Diaries. It's a novel of racist futurism that has been credited with being an influential text for more than 40 terrorist events around the world, including the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. He was based there in the Quiet Zone. He had his compound there. It was basically a $1 million hate media empire that he established just south of Green Bank. And I found myself going there. He passed away in 2002, but his organization is still based there. And I went into the camp. I met with those people quite a few times. I toured all around it. At one point, I even found myself being invited to check out their secret, quote unquote, bunker. They opened up a trap door in the ground, and I hopped down into it to poke around, this little bunker they have at their business headquarters. Here I was, like in remote Appalachia. Nobody knew where I was. I was far outside of cell service. I was with like just a couple of neo-Nazis at their hideaway. And like, I'm down inside this dungeon, like going back and telling Jenna what I had done was very like, she was like, I do not think you should be doing this. And it's scary as well, because this is a group that, promotes a purely white society. They don't want to have minorities here. One of William Pierce's books, called Hunter, was dedicated to a racist serial killer who actually went around the country murdering interracial couples. Like his name was, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. He went around the country murdering interracial couples, including blacks and Jews. My girlfriend, my wife, Jenna, is Korean. We are an interracial couple. We are an example of that kind of people who William Pierce and his followers do not want to see in America today. And so for us to feel so close to that hatred for who we are was incredibly terrifying.
Again, the book, The Quiet Zone. Stephen, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can not only find more info about the book, but all of the other writings you've got as well, sir. Yeah.
So Stephen Kurczy is my name, Kurczy. I've got a website, stephenkurczy.com. I'm on Twitter at Stephen Kurczy. You can find the book wherever books are sold. There's an audiobook, ebook, Kindle, choose your format and give it a read. And I'd love to hear what you think of it.
That's right. And again, The Quiet Zone, Stephen Kurczy, it's been great to visit with you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time and hope you have a great rest of your week, sir.
Thank you, Cameron. You too. Take care.
Now here's some good info for college students or parents of college students. Someone asked a bunch of experts to name courses that all students should take no matter what their major is. Now the idea is they cover broad skills that are valuable in general, and here are the classes they say to take. Number 1, Intro to Programming or Coding. Now even if you're not majoring in computer science, it's good to know the basics in case you need to work with programmers in the future. It's a more important skill set than ever. Number 2, Marketing or Branding. The fundamentals are important even if you're just promoting yourself, like when you start looking for jobs. Number 3, graphic design. Knowing how to use things like Photoshop can give you an edge in lots of different jobs, even if it's not part of your main skill set. Number 4, intros to statistics. The world is more stat-based than ever, so it's a good thing to have a basic knowledge of. Number 5, English. Getting better at writing and communication is important no matter the job. And number 6, personal finance. A poll last week found most people think it should be taught in high school now, but until then, a lot of colleges already offer courses in it. Former NFL and NCAA quarterback turned TV personality Jesse Palmer on the line with us today. And first off, Jesse, truly appreciate you taking some time.
Oh, I really appreciate you having me on your show. Thank you so much.
Now, tell us about the new series, The Ultimate Surfer. The 2-night premiere comes up tonight. And Jesse, who knew that you were such a surfer yourself?
Yeah, listen, I'm so excited about this. During my football days, I was always a big fan of surfing from a distance. And one guy that I really admired was Kelly Slater. He's a name synonymous with the sport. He's really sort of transcended the sport. He's an 11-time world champion. He's the Michael Jordan of the surf world. And I've always really sort of kind of watched him and admired what he was doing. And when ABC approached me to do this, and I knew Kelly Slater was going to be a part of it, and we were going to be filming it over at a surf ranch out in California, I just knew I had to sign on. I'm really, really stoked for this. 14 of the best surfers in America, 7 men, 7 women, competing to become the ultimate surfer, to win $100,000, and to earn a spot on the World Surf League Championship Tour. It takes place out at Kelly's Surf Ranch. We're challenging them. It's a surf competition show, but viewers at home you don't have to know much about surfing at all to enjoy this. There's a lot of drama that happens on the show. We've got very good-looking people living together. Anything can happen. There's strategy involved. There's alliances that are formed, rivalries that are formed. There's a lot taking place in the water, out of the water, but so much drama because there's so much on the line. So I think this show really has a little something for everybody.
And Jesse, I can't help but notice as I look through the contestant list, Middle America not real well represented. I mean, what's up with that?
we got surfers from all over the place: Hawaii, California, Florida, even Puerto Rico. Yes, you're right. No Ottawa, Canada on there, and not a ton of Middle America either. However, I will say this: the new CEO of the World Surf League is actually an Oklahoman.
Wow.
His name is Eric Toppenberg. And he's a boomer Sooner. He went to Oklahoma. He's a huge, huge Sooner fan. Now he lives out in Manhattan Beach, and the guy essentially runs the NFL of surfing. The World Surf League and the Championship Tour is a guy from Oklahoma.
How about that?
Actually, there technically is Middle America representation.
There you go. Jesse, I'm glad you could straighten that out. It makes me feel a little bit better. Now, tell our listeners what they can expect in the 2-night series premiere tonight and tomorrow on ABC.
Well, I think everyone sort of knows coming into this, you're going to see amazing surfing. One of the things that I love about this show is it's filmed so beautifully. There's so many different camera angles that really sort of captures the beauty and the essence of the sport. So I think tonight will certainly help familiarize a lot of our viewers with the sport of surfing. It is the fastest growing sport in the world right now, but as promised earlier, there's a lot of drama too. And I think for me as the host of this show, the most unique and fun thing for me, I think is sharing our surfers' stories with people at home. We have surfers that come from all different walks of life, and they've all had very unique paths to getting to this point. A lot of our surfers have had to overcome a lot in their life growing up, whether it's personal challenges, personal tragedies, there's traumas they've had to overcome and they've had to navigate. And I think tonight on this premiere, viewers will start familiarizing themselves with our competitors to start really understanding who they are and their why. Why are they here? Why does this mean so much to them? I sort of mentioned earlier what everyone's sort of competing for. This really is a make or break, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these people, and it's a chance they can't pass up. And I think their stories are going to resonate with our viewers. And I think what's going to happen is I think viewers at home will sort of connect with some of these competitors and start really sort of pulling for them based on what they learn about them and find out. So that's what I'm really excited for tonight. We've been waiting a long time for this, but I think tonight it's going to be a special, special night, and I can't wait to share it. I can't wait for people to see.
And Jesse, as working in media, maybe surprise people. I mean, a lot of folks think that working in the media, the highlight is whenever you get to go interview that big name, that stuff like that. But I know me personally as well, I'm sure Jesse, you as well, love sharing these uplifting stories of folks that people may have missed if it weren't for you, right?
Yeah, listen, I think we can all find inspiration in a lot of different ways. And I think it's people, we expect it to find it in celebrities and movie stars and singers and politicians, whoever it is, athletes, that obviously you and I have been lucky enough to interview in our careers. And that's fantastic. But I sometimes think we can learn a lot from everyday people, just like us, that grew up like us, that have the same values as us, or just have had to go through things that sometimes they've gone through things that we could never even conceptualize. That's so foreign to what you and I would relate to or know anything about. So I agree with you. For me, I love meeting people, and I love asking questions, and I love learning about people and their stories, because I think I think we can always learn a lot from listening and hearing people's perspectives and experiences. And that's one of the things about this show that I know I definitely came away from it motivated, inspired, based on the 7 men and women that we have doing this show. It was really, really special.
And Jesse, you talked about being a surf fan from a distance during your time in playing football and stuff like that. Now, watching these guys in the competition, has that made you want to keep it at a distance, or has it maybe ignited the fire even more?
I want to keep trying it, but it's kind of like you. When you're really good at your job, and when you make it sound easy. You probably make people at home feel like, I could go be a radio host, no problem. I'll go do that. If anybody ever gets in a radio booth, I've tried it. Anyone ever gets in there, and you'll realize how hard it is very, very quickly, and how unique someone like you are that can do this job so effortlessly. I think great surfers, it's kind of the same thing. They make me feel like I could just go get in the water, get on a board, and I'll pick it up in 20 minutes. And that's not the case at all. I mean, I'm a former pro athlete. I played quarterback in the NFL. I'm really good at a lot of different sports. I'm awful at surfing. and it's going to be a long time, if ever before I ever get good at it. I just sort of sit back, on a show like this in awe of what they're able to do. It's just, to me, it's just amazing. It's such a beautiful sport. But it's incredible, the athleticism and the talent that these surfers have.
That's right. And again, the 2-night series premiere kicks off tonight, The Ultimate Surfer on ABC. And Jesse, always want to make sure and let our listeners know if they want to find more info about the show or anything you've got going social media wise as well.
Yeah, sure. They could follow me on Instagram at Jesse Palmer. They could follow The Ultimate Surfer at The Ultimate Surfer on Instagram and Twitter, as well as ABC Network, to find out more about the show.
That's good stuff. Well, Jesse, it has been a privilege to have the chance to visit with you, sir. I look forward to the new series, and hopefully, brother, we can catch up again real soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much again for having me on.
Now, cats love to jump up on tables to be the center of attention or to see what you're eating. So a company in Japan solved that problem by putting them inside the table. A furniture company in Japan called Dinos is selling a table with a hole in the middle so your cat can stick its head up and see what's going on. There's a little platform underneath they can sit on, so just their heads stick out and they can't reach their paws up to swat stuff, they can only observe. Now it comes with a circle of wood that fits in the hole so you can plug it if you don't want your cat watching all the time. But get ready to spend. Each table costs $1,500 plus shipping. Actor, producer, acting coach, fitness trainer, author now. Got the memoir, Bob Goes to Jail. We've got Rob Sedgwick on the line with us. And first off, Rob, I appreciate you taking some time, sir.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Now, when did the process for Bob Goes to Jail, when did the idea first come to you, if you will?
Wow, that was about 2008. And the acting career was not really going where I wanted it to be. And I thought I better do something. And I had this story because I had been in a drug ring 20 years previous. And so I started writing a one-man show about being in this drug ring. And I told a friend of mine in Los Angeles about it. And he said, that's a great idea. Send me the pages, And after about 30 pages, I said, so what do you think? I think it's great. I think it's a great story. It's riveting. I mean, you firsthand knowledge of being in a major drug cartel. It's incredible. And I said, it's a one-man show. And he said, well, I hate to tell you, it's not really a one-man show. You're writing a book. I said, a book? I don't know how to write a book. Are you crazy? He said, well, yeah, but you're writing one. Oh. So he said, just the job, do it. Oh, yeah. Well, a book is kind of a daunting, writing by yourself, that's kind of a daunting thing if you've never done it before. But he said, keep your head down, write every day, send me the pages you have at the end of the week. And after about 6 months, we had the book. And it took a long time to get published, but it finally came out. And it's about, I was in a drug ring. I was in a major drug ring. We got caught. I was looking at 5 to 40 in jail. I had a contract on my head. So that's the lead story. But what I do is then I jump back in time to how I ended up this way. And, bad decisions and lack of guidance and substance abuse and stuff like that. I'm in no way feeling sorry for myself through the whole thing. It's just, this is what happened, and I don't blame anyone but me. But, so the front story reads pretty funny because it's as if you turned out to be a drug, we're given an offer to be a drug all of a sudden, and you think it's fun and the money, and isn't that exciting? And then all of a sudden the real consequences start happening, and you're not prepared for that, and you're not James Bond, and it's terrifying. And you feel like an idiot, which is exactly what I felt. And how I actually got into it was I was walking down the street, 1988, acting was not going well. I wasn't making the money I wanted. I wasn't getting the notoriety I wanted. And walking down the street, I ran into one of my brother's best friends, who was a drug dealer at the time, and he was on a payphone. And I knew he was doing probably one of his naughty deals, and I came, but at this, I wanted to reach across the aisle. I wanted to make friends with him. I needed attention. We had never gotten along well, and I wanted to rectify that. So I come up to him with my dog, and I look at him, and I said, are you doing nudge, nudge, wink, wink? And he said, yeah, I got to load up the street, actually. I said, well, why don't you come up to my apartment? I was staying at my grandparents' apartment. They had left the country. Why don't you come to the apartment and use the phone? He said, is that okay? I said, sure. He uses the phone. I'm pretending not to hear these conversations. He's talking about drugs and drop-offs and stuff like that. I'm pretending not to notice. And he comes back, and I said, anytime you're in the neighborhood, I insist you use the phone anytime you want to and come up here. He said, really? And I said, as a matter of fact, I insist whatever contraband you're dealing with, you bring it up here to this apartment, and you can do it in here. Really? And he looked at the entire apartment, and he said, this could really work out for you. And I said, what do you mean? I insist it work out. He said, you would be paid. And I was like, really? How much would I be paid? You get $3,000. We do 2 loads a month. You get $3,000 a pop, so that's $70,000 a year. Sitting around with your, sitting around on your butt. And I was like, that sounds great. So, and I have the sentence in there, and on that day, God created the moron. So that's literally how the whole thing started. So, and then, you get involved with all these drug dealer, ne'er-do-well cast of characters, and coming from my point of view, which had no experience in this. Mm-hmm. So it was, but when I go back in time, it sort of gives it its emotional heft, like how this happened, what the background was, and how haywire the background was. That's something that I would make these kind of decisions. So that's kind of the book.
Now, Rob, for you, how hard were there times that you were like, well, we need to leave this out, or was it just one of those things you sat down and you were just free flowing, if you will?
Oh, I just let it go. I let my punches go. I let my hands go. Whatever came out, came out. I mean, I had an idea of structure as it went along. So I didn't include everything, but it was just to serve the story. But that's what it was. It was to serve the story. I mean, I have well-known family and stuff like that. And one magazine was like, well, why didn't you tell more about your family? And I said, they're not in the story.
Right.
They're peripheral. That's not what the story's about. The story's about, this drug deal that went bad. and how I ended up like this. And my dog is tripping through the entire story at the time. His name was Tybalt, and he was the someone to watch over me to make sure I didn't die. A pretty extraordinary dog.
That is right. And again, the memoir, Bob Goes to Jail, was published back on July 27th. Rob, I always want to make sure and let folks know where they can find more info about the book and also everything else you've got going on as well.
Bob Goes to Jail, you can get on Amazon and or barnesandnoble.com. And my website is robsedgwick.com. And and the book's a lot of fun. Everyone's loving it. People are coming out of the woodwork from college, from high school, writing me about how much they love it. And it's a lot of fun. And that's how you get it on Amazon. Bob Goes to Jail.
All right. Well, again, Rob Sedgwick, it has truly been a privilege to have the chance to visit with you, sir. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we'll catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much, sir. I really had fun. Thank you.
Now, bell-bottoms weren't ever really considered high fashion, but they're apparently being reinvented that way. Multiple luxury brands are putting out baggy flared dress pants, which definitely have a bell-bottom vibe. The wide opening at the bottom is more subtle than a classic bell-bottom, but it's big enough to low enough to mostly hide your shoes. Now, obviously, it's too early to say if this will catch on in a mainstream way, but it's funny to imagine Greg from IT walking into the office in a pair of those, isn't it? Singer, songwriter, country artist Dusty Leigh is going to be our final guest on the podcast today. We'll be talking about her new single, Love You Like You're Leaving. And first off, Dusty, I appreciate you taking some time to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for the invite. We appreciate it.
All right, Dusty. So first off, tell us where the single, Love You Like You're Leaving, where did this one come from for you?
So this song originated, it was actually written by a 16-year-old girl out of Nashville. Her name is Ava Page. She is also battling childhood leukemia. She's a phenomenal songwriter. Her and a group of her friends, Corey Lee Barker, Kelly Johnson, and Terry Wayne wrote this song, Love You Like You're Leaving. And that evening, she actually played a version of it, singing it with her guitar on Instagram. It was about 10:30 at night when I lived in Idaho time. And I loved it. I mean, immediately, chills, the tears, So I'm on the phone texting my producer, Chaz Childers, and I said, listen, I heard this song. He knows all of the guys there in that little group. And I said, how do I go about getting the song? Like, I love it. I don't even know if they are looking for somebody to record it, but I just graciously invited myself. So you have to hear it. So I sent him the link. And as it turns out, Corey Lee Barker had actually sent it to him earlier that day as a pitch to me. So I call it fate. So it was one of those songs that I feel like anybody that's been in a relationship kind of resonates to it, So, and I'm a sap for old love songs, the kind that make you cry. And so when I heard it, I was hoping that it would resonate with everybody the way that it did with me. And so far it seems to be the case. So that's good.
Now, Dusty, right now, probably more so than any other time in our lives, music makes a difference in people's lives, and people are leaning on music so much. And for you right now to have new music out there to also be inspiring others, what's that mean to you on a personal level, Dusty?
I think for me, we made some pretty big changes in this year. We uprooted my husband and I, we had our youngest graduate, our oldest move to North Carolina. And we'd kind of been planning a move since about 2019. We kind of had to wait till our daughter graduated. And then, of course, in the pandemic. And I thought, you know what, I'll be damned if I'm gonna let that stop me from doing what I want to do. So we kind of made a plan. And then, in June, we sold our house. In April, we packed up everything we owned and we made our way to Tennessee. And in the process, we kind of I went into the studio, I recorded a bunch of songs. I wanted to continue releasing music. That was pretty important to me. You're trying to at least every 6 to 8 weeks get something out there just to say, hey, you know, I'm still out here. Because basically we're starting from ground zero now that we're here in Tennessee. We've been in our house 3 weeks today. And let me tell you, after being homeless since June 7th, it's been great. So we actually have band rehearsal tonight. And I feel like music, I mean, for me, music is everything. I mean, there's not a day when I don't listen to it. I don't sing, you know, or I don't think about songs that might impact people. And I feel like there's so much inspiration around us, especially now, that it's just, I feel like music is that element that bonds everybody together. Everybody can relate to it. Different genres, it doesn't matter. I feel like music is the one common, you know, thing that we can all agree on.
Now, for you, where did the music first start? I mean, who was it that you heard and immediately were like, ooh, who's that? Who early inspired you?
You know, honestly, I think I was pretty lucky, fortunate, I think, to have parents that listened to a variety of everything. My mom loved, you know, George Jones and Patsy Cline and all of the classics, but she also, you know, she's who named me after ZZ Top, Dusty Hill. I may have been conceived in an outdoor ZZ Top concert. That's the story anyway. Clearly my mom was classy. So, you know, I feel like, and my dad, he listened to, you know, Bob Seger and John Cougar and Joe Cocker. And I mean, just everybody, but also, you know, Frank Sinatra and, you know, just the greats. There was no music, you know, in my house that wasn't allowed. I mean, my dad wasn't a huge fan of rap, but I went through that phase where I listened to it and he's like, babe, if you can get down to that, I mean, okay. You know, he rolled with some Snoop Dogg back in the day, but, you know, I feel like there's something that everybody can take from every kind of music, you know, whether it be, you know, your favorites or not so much. All of it involves talent. So.
And country is being more open to other genres, other forms as well. And how cool is it to be a part of a genre that is so welcoming today?
It's great because I feel like one of the things that I've always, I mean, literally from the time I was small, just being able to sing. It didn't matter to me whether or not, you know, I pulled from the greats of like Tina Turner and, you know, Katie Osland and then, you know, Patsy Cline. I mean, the spectrum of that is huge. So no matter what I sing, I mean, I love Stevie Nicks and I sing a lot of Guns N' Roses in my show, but I still sound country. And so I feel like I don't ever want to be an artist that's put into a box. There's a lot of stuff that I gravitate towards just because of the emotion that it evokes or, you know, the way that it makes you feel. But I just like to create music. So to be in a genre that I feel like has, I mean, I'll probably never rap one day. I mean, Peanut Butter Whiskey tells me that I can sometimes. The videos show me that I can't. So, but, you know, to be part of this eclectic group of, you know, things that are branching out and, you know, we have more pop country or we have more, you know, I mean, there's some rap country. I love it. I just feel like you can't put a stipulation on music or art or something that gives people passion. So I think that's probably my takeaway is I love being part of it to kind of do whatever I want. So
now one of those questions I love to ask all singer-songwriters this last year and a half, the music, the songwriting, the inspiration, has it been harder to find? Has it been easier to find? Or maybe has it been maybe a mixture of both depending on the time we were spending?
I think honestly, it's probably a little bit of both. It's like in the beginning when we didn't know where, you know, this pandemic was going to take us, it was kind of a breath of fresh air for me. We had been playing, I mean, every weekend, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know, sometimes Sunday. But I mean, so I was kind of getting to a point where I was a little bit burned out. It was like, we're putting on these big shows, you know, Sundays were exhausted and I have a full-time job, as does my husband. I was actually working a full-time job and a few part-time jobs on the side for social media marketing. So I felt like I was being pulled in a million different directions. And I really felt like I didn't have enough time to be creative. Songwriting for me does not come easy. It's not something that I have done a whole bunch of. It's very, very new to me. I have a lot of inspiration. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of, you know, songs that I'd like to put down on paper, but the process of it doesn't come easy to me. So the pandemic in the beginning kind of gave me that time to focus. Like I had to slow down. Like we couldn't play gigs, we couldn't go out, we couldn't do anything. So it's like, okay, so you're stuck at home and there's only so much you can clean and organize. And then it was like, okay, I actually have an excuse to be like, let's do this. So it gave me time to complete a lot of projects for my first album. It gave me a lot of time to write down kind of a scope of where I wanted things to go for my second album, third album, down the line, songs I wanted to record, opinions I wanted to have. So it was nice. But then I think too, that mundane, like the pandemic, it seemed like everything turned to, well, the pandemic, well, the COVID, the pandemic, so then it was like, you kind of felt like everything was centered around the same thing. So there was a little bit of struggle in that too. But I feel like in all struggles, there's something good that can come out of it. So I just try to look for the silver lining. Sometimes that takes a little help, but.
Now, during pandemic, obviously there was times where you didn't have the opportunity to get out there and play, but whenever you got the opportunity to get back up on the stage, what was it like seeing the reaction from the fans? And was there maybe a little bit of rust to get kicked off as well?
It was pretty wild. I won't lie. It was, I kind of like, I had released a few videos singing in my bonus room, just, I called it pandemic karaoke or something, just in my home studio being goofy. But there is nothing like a live crowd. We actually, I think it was about June-ish, I think, I met with the city in Idaho that we used to live in. And I said, listen, I want to have like a sidewalk concert. Everybody will be social distancing, it'll bring your own lawn chairs, whatever. Our little town that we lived in, our mayor was amazing. He was like, do it. So we put on this little driveway concert. There was way more people that turned out than we anticipated. And that part was fun. But I think when we finally got the go ahead and some of the bigger venues that we love to play opened back up, the first show, we did some pretty good advertising for it. And I cried. It might have been the whiskey, but I was just so excited to be like, wow, these people like actually came out to watch me. And there's just nothing like it. The support was phenomenal. And I was so thankful to see that the venues, especially the ones that we love to play, they put precautions in place to make people feel safe, to make me feel safe. So it was nice. It just felt like a good balance of everything. So people got to hear live music. The next morning I was like, oof, I was not ready for that much excitement. So I was like, I need to prepare again. But it was great.
Now, how did the slow down, the pandemic, all of that, how did that maybe change your goals for the remaining of 2021 and even looking into 2022? And of course, I know obviously with a move in there, that's had to shift as well, right? Another one of those keywords, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yes. Semper Gumby, always flexible. I think, I can't sit still very long. Anybody that knows me knows that I can't sit still. And I have this horrible ADD issue where I'm like, oh, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. Nope, I'm going to do. So it constantly changes. Luckily, my husband is like, okay, all right, we're changing again. But I really had this focus on, I'm going to be in this Tennessee area. I'm going to be surrounded by these amazing songwriters and musicians. And I really want to soak it all in and let it kind of take me where it will. My one direction for my second album was, I want to be able to take everything that I've done so far, all of my originals, my favorite covers, and when we can do a big show again, I want it to be a party. So I have a lot of, heart-wrenching, super sad songs, but nobody wants to hear that in the middle of, a party. So as much as those songs will always be a part of me because that's what I'm drawn to and I love to sing those songs, my focus for my sophomore album was just songs that you can dance to. Things, when you're driving down the road and your favorite song comes on, for me, it's Joe Cocker or Bob Seger, you move, you can't help it. It's just, it gets in your bones and you're happy, everybody has those go-tos. And that's kind of what my direction was. I want somebody to be like, damn, that's a great song. And, it makes us move. So that's kind of my focus. We'll see how long it lasts. It's hard because I said I wasn't going to have a bunch of sad songs. I was like, listen, I knew Love You Like You Were Leaving was going to be on there. And then I had one other one that I really, really loved. So I was like, okay, I got a couple slow songs. And then we got this flood of songs that were pitched, and some of them were so good. And I was like, oh, okay, well now I got like 4 slow songs. So my producer the other day, we got a bunch of tracks back from Nashville, and he said, we're setting up some studio time so I can go in and record. And he's like, how many songs do we have? He's like, I felt like we're at like 50. And I was like, yeah, most of the time, you release 6, 7, I have like 14. So he's like, it's going to be a double album. I'm like, that's my goal, so that's kind of where we're at.
Now it is back to school time, the fall 2021. And as we get finished with the summer into the fall, how does that shape up for the rest of 2021 into 2022?
This is the first year I have not had to worry about back to school. No new school forms, no packing lunches, no first day pictures. And I'm probably going to get a little flack for this because I know that I should be sad. I'm not. I'm not sad at all. I love, I've been married for 22 years. Our oldest is 22. Our youngest is 18. My husband was military for a long time. So, we traveled literally from Washington to Oregon to Nevada, Virginia, North Carolina, Alaska. We've been everywhere. We did the school thing. I did the mom thing. I sang kind of on the side, but for the first time, this is like the first decision that I've literally made that was all about me. And it was weird. Like it was when I was like, listen, babe, I want to move. He was like, okay, where to? I was like, well, Tennessee. He's like, okay, let's do it. So it's just, I'm not used to making decisions for myself, And so when I made that decision, I kind of felt guilty and I kind of felt like, oh, am I making the right decision? But honestly, I kept it a secret for quite a while. I like to have all my ducks in a row before we, make a change. And then when I announced it, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to throw up. But the support was amazing. So for me, like I see all these little kids in my new neighborhood going to school and I'm like, but I'm like, oh, I'm so kind of glad that period of my life is done. So it's nice.
Now, we did talk about the move to Tennessee, and what have you noticed being the biggest difference since being in Tennessee? Is it maybe gleaning from other singer-songwriters, being around the whole music scene? What is the biggest thing that you've seen of the impact that Tennessee's had on you so far?
I think, honestly, it's probably the level of talent that is here. I mean, luckily in Idaho, I had, I was fortunate to have some of the people in my band. My bass player and my drummer were originals from when we put the band together in 2011. When we retired and went to Idaho after about a year, my begging paid off and my bass player and my drummer moved to Idaho. So I got lucky there. And then I had 2 phenomenal guitar players. They're, family to me. So I felt pretty fortunate that I didn't really struggle in that sense. But moving to Tennessee, putting a new band together, seeing the difference of players here or the level of players here is amazing. It's thick here. And I really feel like, even though I was born and raised in Idaho and we've lived everywhere, honestly, the more research I did about the South, I just felt like I just really fit into the Southern way of life. And so far, we love it. We love it where we're at. We love the community and the atmosphere. The humidity's a little, I don't mind it until it rains. And then I'm reminded of how thick it was when we lived in North Carolina. And, but even still, coming from Idaho, we don't have the wildfires here. We don't have the earthquakes. So as long as the tornadoes and we can come to an agreement where they just kind of stay over there. It's my one big fear. Then we'll be okay. But so far it's good.
Well, again, the single Love You Like You're Leaving. Dusty, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can find more information, not only about the single, upcoming music, tour dates as those become available. Where's the best place to keep up with everything with Dusty Leigh?
The thing is, there is another artist named Dusty Leigh, rap artist. So when people type in Dusty Leigh, they're like, I'm like, if there's a half naked woman or even a naked woman, that is not me. Keep searching. I'm the female version. But I mean, we're everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. Instagram, I'm under the Dusty Leigh. Facebook is just Dusty Leigh. And then, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon. I mean, if there's a place to be on there, I'm there. I also have, for my older demographic that want physical, tangible CDs like me, I do have some CDs you can buy them on my Facebook page. But as soon as we'll continue releasing singles until probably the projected release date for my sophomore not titled album yet is January. So as long as we can continue getting those songs cranked out, then that'll work. But we'll keep releasing singles until then. So.
Well, there you go. Again, Dusty Leigh, it has truly been a privilege to have the chance to visit with you today. Appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 126th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, a question, maybe anything else you'd like to know, you can hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at gqwithcam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, you can visit our merch store, where we've got a selection of hoodies, shirts, tumblers, mugs, stickers, and more. That's gqwithcam.com/shop. Of course, if you do have a special guest idea, email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Again, thanks to our good friend Brandon Allen for coming up with our theme music. We're going to let him play us out and hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday.